All right, so today we've got another Jack Yves fragrance from Fragrance World. This obviously is going to be another clone of a Louis Vuitton fragrance, and this one goes by the name of Tempete. And this is going to actually be a clone of Louis Vuitton's Orage. All right, so as you can see, the presentation on this fragrance is basically it's the same as like the L'Infinite presentation, as well as like the Solil de Ambre. You've got the name of the fragrance here, Tempete, and then you've got the like Jacques Yves symbol down here at the bottom, the concentration, the bottle size, all of that. Fragrance World sticker up top, ingredients and authenticity sticker on the back, and then you've got the batch date and stuff like that on the bottom here. This bottle is a October of 2023 fragrance. So this one isn't as new as my L'Infinite bottle, but still pretty new. So also, just like the L'Infinite bottle, the bottle pretty much looks the same. It's got Tempete here on the front, Jacques Yves, the Jacques Yves logo, nothing on the top of the cap, and then you've got the sticker down here at the bottom. And this is also not a magnetic cap. All right, so pretty much this particular fragrance, it does come pretty close, I would say, to Orage. But the main thing that I'm noticing with the two fragrances is it is missing a note that seems to be pretty prominent in Louis Vuitton's Orage. So just to kind of go over the notes of Orage, Orage has bergamot and grapefruit in the top notes, and in the mid it has iris, hedione, and pepper. And in the base you have patchouli, Java vetiver oil, iso e super, and white musk. All right. So the main note that I feel like is sort of missing almost completely in the Jacques Yves version is the iris note. As soon as you spray on the Louis Vuitton Orage, you're met with those citruses for sure, the bergamot and the grapefruit, but at the same time, you do get like this really sort of green iris note that comes through. And I feel like you can somewhat smell that in this fragrance, but it's extremely muted, and it doesn't smell anywhere near as prominent as what you get in the Louis Vuitton. Now, at least I would say probably for about the first maybe 2 minutes or so, I actually don't care for that iris note that you get in the Louis Vuitton. It just kind of smells a little weird mixed with the citruses up top. So at first when I smelled the two, I was like, okay, the Louis Vuitton is definitely a lot greener. And I'm definitely picking up on that iris note a lot more than what I am in the Jacques Yves fragrance. But I would say once the two fragrances start to dry down, and you start to get like, I would say probably within like that sort of hour and a half to 2 hour mark, the iris note is definitely something that I think adds a bit of character to the Louis Vuitton Orage. And it makes it to where it's not just like this, like average run-of-the-mill kind of, sweet citrus sort of earthy fragrance or whatever. It does add a pretty nice element to the fragrance. Now, if you're not really familiar, I guess in kind of like description of, what Orage smells like, it's kind of like you're walking through like a wet forest or like a rainforest or something like that. It just rained. And now it's pretty much just dried up, and you're getting, it's really humid out there as well, obviously due to it just raining. And you're kind of getting like this sort of earthy, but yet at the same time, citrusy smell in the air pretty much. That's pretty much, I would say that's the best way for me to kind of describe the way that Orage smells. And I mean, you do sort of get that experience, I would say, with Tempete, except again, with that iris note missing, I think this one does lack a little bit of character in comparison to the Louis Vuitton. Also, I mean, I would say quality wise, this one isn't going to be as close to the Louis Vuitton as what L'Infinite is to, L'Immensité from Louis Vuitton. So, I mean, that may be something that could possibly change, over time as this fragrance sort of maturates. I know obviously this fragrance, it was manufactured about 2 months ago. So, I mean, it has had a little bit of time to, sort of maturate or whatnot, but it hadn't been sprayed. So, obviously, with a lot of these Middle Eastern fragrances, you kind of have to spray them a few times, put them back on the shelf, and then come to them maybe a month or two later or so. And then things start to change. That may be the case. I have a feeling that more than likely a month from now, this is probably going to smell pretty much the same. I don't necessarily think that iris note is just going to jump out of nowhere a month from now once I spray this again. Now, also in terms of the performance is also not up to par, I would say, with the Louis Vuitton. Now, Louis Vuitton's Orage, it's not like the most beast mode projecting fragrance. It is more of sort of like a closer to your skin type of fragrance. But this fragrance, it definitely is a lot closer to the skin. Doesn't really project, I would say, really at all. I wouldn't even say that you really get decent projection out of this, at least so far anyway. Even for like the first half an hour, I would say it's really maybe about, 15 minutes or so of, like noticeable projection. And then it dials back. And I would say, I mean, overall, I am getting about probably 4 hours of, total longevity out of this one. But this is definitely not the best performing fragrance. So, I mean, I would say maybe this would be like a good gym scent to wear. Where you don't necessarily need it to last that long. You're only going to the gym for an hour, 2 hours max or so, and you're going to come home and shower it off anyway. Then this, I would say, would be a pretty decent choice. But, if you're looking for something that's going to last you all day long, at least so far, this hasn't done that for me. Now, I would say one thing to consider is the fact that this really isn't the season right now to be wearing a fragrance like this. So, I mean, this may perform a lot better, once I wear it again, once it starts to warm up here in Las Vegas. But at least so far, in, what is considered our winter weather, which is pretty much between 50 to 60 degrees, this hasn't really given me too much projection or, really any sort of decent longevity at all. So I would say take that with a grain of salt. That, again, that may change with maturation with this fragrance, and it also may change, with just wearing the fragrance in a different season. At least for me, typically more citrusy type of, citrusy, fresher types of fragrances do not perform well on me at all, I would say, in the winter months. My skin is typically a lot drier during those months, even with moisturizing with, like coconut oil. My skin is just dry during the winter months. So that could have a lot to do with why I'm not really getting that good of performance with this. So again, take it with a grain of salt. But I would say overall, this is a pretty solid fragrance. So far in terms of closeness, what I'm getting with this one is, I would say this is about 80% Louis Vuitton's Orage, pretty much. So, it's not a terrible clone, but again, it's definitely nowhere near as close as what the L'Infinite is, within this same Jacques Yves line, to the original Louis Vuitton L'Immensité. This doesn't come that close to being, as close to Orage. All right. So let me know, have you all smelled this fragrance? If so, have you smelled the original Louis Vuitton Orage? And do you agree with my assessment of how close this actually comes to Louis Vuitton's Orage? All right. So let me know in the comments below. And again, if you're brand new to the channel, do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe. And again, that's Jamar from Vegas Scents. I'll see you on the next video.